Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. This time we're going to be loading a 1 3/8 ounce 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch bismuth load, specifically number 4 bismuth from Roto Metals, which is alloyed with 6% tin. In my opinion, you really want the bismuth alloyed with something to make it a little bit harder, less prone to pellet shatter and deformation, so it being alloyed with 6% tin is a very good thing in my opinion. Before we start loading this, normally I would put my non-toxic loads, bismuth and TSS and steel, obviously steel, in a steel shot wad such as a TPS or LBC wad or the precision reloading wads. But this time I'm just going to be using the Claybuster CB 1138 wad and incorporating a Mylar wrap. Now with the Mylar wrap you will see less erratic pellets. It will help improve the patterns a little bit. Basically, the Mylar wrap is there to stop fires. I'm using a load straight off Hodgdon's website. The only thing I'm doing here is bumping the powder charge up half a grain to 31 grains. That's all I'm doing. The listed velocity is 1325 FPS, but I personally want just a little bit more, closer to 1400. So again, I'm bumping the powder charge up half a grain. It's listed at 9800 PSI. You got plenty of room to work with there. We have shot very similar loads using lead, and bumping it up half a grain of long shot will get you about 50 FPS extra, velocity. So this is going to be sitting in that 1375 FPS to 1400 FPS mark. The hull this load calls for is a Shadot, and I have a Shadot hull here. Specifically, this is a Challenger. It's nice shiny blue, and it's low brass. Brass hot means nothing, guys. High brass, low brass, it's all the same. The low brass hull is not any weaker than a high brass hull, and some hulls have no brass at all. If you don't know, go to Google and look up the old active hulls. There is no E on the end of active. They are all plastic, aside from a metal ring around the rim to prevent extractors in semi-autos from tearing through the rim. But otherwise, it's an all-plastic hull, very similar to an Winchester AA original, the compression forms, or a Remington STS. Very similar to those, but all plastic. The data also calls for a Shadot 209 primer, which I have right here. It's calling for 30.5 grains of long shot, but again, I'm using 31 grains to get me closer to 1400 FPS. The Claybuster CB 1138 wad, which is a wad meant for tapered hulls, but I'll show you how to get around that. There's two ways. There's really three, but two of them work better. And we're going to use some buffer, Ballistic Products ITX buffer, and that's about it. Oh, the Mylar wrap. So without further ado, let's get started here. This is actually a twice-fired Challenger hull, which again is a Shadot. It's got a Winchester 209 in it. I'm sure me and Josh fired this at some point over the last 2 years. So, deprime and resize. Reprime with, again, a Shadot 209. One of the hulls fell off over there. The Shadot 209, specifically this one is the CX2000, which I believe is the only commercially available Shadot primer. I could be wrong about that. 31 grains of long shot powder. Now, like I mentioned a second ago, there's two ways, technically three, you can get around the issue of using a tapered wad in a straight wall hull. Now, the way I always do it, usually, is needle nose pliers, and I pinch out the bottom of the wad right here with them. I flare it out, that way it seals like it should in a straight wall shell. Now, the newer way that Wade Rush has discovered, take a paper towel, roughly 1 by 1 inch, set it right over top your hull, then take your wad, messed it up a little bit, and then just seat your wad, and that paper towel will stop what's called powder migration. A little bit hard to get in here because I'm not using the press to seat it, but listen, no powder rattle. Powder migration is when your powder leaches up past the bottom of your wad, past the gas seal of the wad, and that can lead to underpowered loads or just straight up duds. You'll get like a little pop and your shot will fall out the end of the barrel, and you'll have a barrel obstruction because your wad will be stuck in your barrel. That has happened to me and Josh several times on camera. The third way is using a 12 gauge nitro card over top the powder, but doing it that way you will lose capacity. We don't want to lose capacity. So the paper towel method, or flaring out the gas seal will allow you to get lower pressures and higher velocities. Again, using straight wall hauls and tapered wads, yeah, you get a little bit higher velocities with lower pressure doing it that way. For instance, if I were to use, say, the Claybuster Federal 12S3 clone, which is a straight wall wad, this exact same load, everything the same, we would see higher pressure than using the Claybuster CB1138 wad. So next I'm using the Mylar wrap. This is the Ballistic Products My Thin Mylar, and all I've done to it was trim off about 1/4 inch to make it fit in a 2 3/4 inch hole. Just roll it up and seat it right down in there. I know you guys can't see this, but that wrap comes up right to the bottom of the crimp. So this load, total payload weight will be 1 3/8 ounces, 1.3875, but I'm only going to use 1.35 ounces of bismuth and then buffer it up to the 1 3/8 ounces, and that's so I don't, go over weight with the powder charge. So 1.35. If you guys are just using the bismuth, no buffer, load the straight 1 3/8 ounces. Buffer of the day is my favorite buffer. It is Ballistic Products ITX, which has been rebranded to BSB buffer. This is for non-toxic shot, bismuth and TSS, steel too. It also works with lead. This buffer is just awesome. Again, I'm going to buffer that up to 1 3/8 ounces. We are at 1.37, and let's see, right there should be 1.38, and it is 1 3/8 ounces total. Now all that's left to do is give this shell a crimp, and since this is an 8-point, you want the crease between the 2 points right here in the middle. You want that facing you, and it is the front station of the reload all. Here's the pre-crimp. Looking good. Not bad at all. These Challenger hulls are pretty. So neither me or Josh waterfowl hunt right now, but we both really want to. However, since this is a waterfowl load, you really want to make sure your hull is completely sealed up, especially since it has buffer in it. Now, if this was steel shot, that would be a critical step. This is bismuth, not absolutely necessary, but I'm sealing it up anyway. Just using clear nail polish. It's an old Wade Rush trick. This stuff is like $1 from the dollar store, and I have a dollar store like 100 yards from my house that way. Very handy thing to have. So, there is a 12 gauge, 1 3/8 ounce, 2 3/4 inch bismuth number 4 load for you guys, buffered and all. You can use any size you want, just make sure it crimps good. Shot size does not matter, all that matters is the payload weight. Anyway guys, that's going to do it for me. Please like and subscribe, we always appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below and we'll get back to you. And if you want to, go check out our Patreon. It's as low as $1 a month. You guys get early access to content. A link to that, as well as a link to our Instagram and Rumble accounts, will be in the description below. But other than that, you guys take it easy, and we'll see you in the next one.